another second or two and people come in, then I'll start. So this one will be a rather short one, just so we can give you guys an update of what's happening, the latest data. What the latest is. I've seen a lot of emotional posts on Facebook from the weather community. I'm serious, man. Anxiety breeds anxiety. Some of these weather guys should just STFU. Quit posting crap like it's the worst since this, and this is horrible. And I don't know, man. That's just not my cup of tea. So we'll look at actual data, I'll tell you what's going on, I'll tell you what it looks like, without all the fear-mongering and the, oh my gosh, we're all doomed and all that nonsense. It just crawls under my skin. So. Alright, so what we're going to do here, show you just a few graphics. I'm just going to give you guys the short summary of what we're looking at. So the first thing is, nothing since last time I talked to you, nothing's changed as far as the outlook is concerned from the Storm Prediction Center. So we're still looking at a medium risk, it says here in red, of the tornadoes here for moderate risk severe weather over central and southern Oklahoma, up to softball size hail and 80 miles per hour wind. Now that is the potential. Let me stress the word potential. Doesn't necessarily mean any of that's going to happen. It's potential, right? Okay, and there's the Monday tornado outlook here, so it's kind of backed out to the west a little bit. All right, so again, really hasn't changed. I want to show you what the AI algorithms thought. So for the tornado area, that big area kind of favored all of the same spot we looked at here in central Oklahoma, southern, northeast, kind of the red favored Zoom. The hail algorithm kind of favored smack dab in the middle of central Oklahoma. And of course the wind down here in the bottom left. It's kind of the same area. All right, so there you go. That's what the algorithms thought there. Another cool little AI program this guy's been working on called NATOcast, for what it's worth, has its potential favorite area for a tornado kind of up around the Tulsa area, Bartlesville, maybe out towards Stillwater, then up north and east from there, Missouri, far eastern Oklahoma, and then it's like McAllister down to southwest from there into North Texas. So kind of southern Oklahoma. So that little algorithm favors that area. So there are a couple little different things, just curious to see how it looks, right? Well, right now we have that yellow box you see here over Oklahoma's for the tornado watch. One of the limiting factors we talked about earlier today was the cloud cover and the rainfall, which is continuing. So we have temperatures in the low 70s. Dew point values are only in the mid 60s. That's the bottom number, top number temperature, bottom number dew point. So for example, like 73 over 64. If we were in the 80s, this would be a completely different outcome, right? But we're in the 70s, so you get a little bit of rain-cooled air. That's going to help to limit some of the severe weather potential. So that kind of worked in our favor today. The dryland bulge out here in southwest Oklahoma just is not materializing. It's late to the party. It's not happening. But you are getting some convergence down here, very weak, and hence you get this extra cloud cover underneath the hazards. So if I take those hazards off, you'll see the radar, and you can see some heavier stuff down North Texas. But otherwise, it's kind of just now kind of getting going is kind of what we're looking at. Of course, that extends up north in Missouri, etc. Okay, so let's take a look at the we call it the warn-on forecast. It kind of takes a short-term forecast to find out where you might find the worst of the worst. So this is looking at updraft helicity output. So what you'll see is it favors, and so I can put some roads on here. That might help you a little bit. Okay, so right here, the center part of the map, where my cursor is, Oklahoma City. So this kind of jives with my forecast over the course last, 24 hours, and the meso low. in cold front is you do have this little favorite area where there could be a tornado track storm in that region. So that would be Logan County, kind of starting up around the Kingfisher area, maybe to southwest of there, just north of Guthrie, and then up to Stillwater, and then maybe to Bartlesville, right? So that's the one favorite area. Favorite area number 2 is down here along far southern Oklahoma. I say really, it could be as far north as the Ardmore area, and then back into like Gainesville, little corridor there. So really the short-term models that we have that kind of take a best guess of this kind of stuff is favoring those 2 areas. So if you join me at lunch today, you're like, well, yeah, that's what you said earlier, right? Yeah. Well, this is just the very, what we call the nowcast version, in other words, what's happening right now. So that is where things lie. Now let's take a look at what the models actually are projecting for the rest of this afternoon when it comes to storms. So we'll go back to the RRFS, and we'll see, this is the noon run, and we'll see what it does with the storms as they develop for the afternoon. So there's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So you can see now that we're at 5:30, we should be having a supercell in the Enid area, and we do not, right? So these models aren't always perfect. We go into the 6 o'clock hour. Now they do continue to bubble those up in that area we talked about, and then down here in south, look at south of Wichita Falls. So these are still the 2 main areas we are looking at to develop over the next hour or 2. Now I want you to see what happens here. I mentioned this at noon, that it was not a guarantee that Oklahoma City Metro gets hit by a supercell. Not at all. We could be split in between. Storms up to the north, storms down to the south. You have to have sinking air in between, and that means some subsidence and a lack of severe weather. So that's still on the table. It could definitely happen. But down south, for sure, this is the favorite area for some really nasty thunderstorms. This would be big hail producers, and yes, probably a couple of tornadoes likely, should this activity get going. It's in the favorite area. All right, let's go into the 8 o'clock time frame. So 8 o'clock, you still see more storms bubbling up around the cold front here in northern Oklahoma, and then even some new wind generation back out here to the west as that dry line finally gets moving. And then otherwise, these storms here in southeast Oklahoma still keep going. Let's go into 9 o'clock. You can see a new storms there moving into central Oklahoma and the metro. Now, here's the deal. Wind shear in the atmosphere is not coming together as the models originally thought, especially over central Oklahoma. So as this storm moves in, it doesn't have a lot of low-level shear to work with. So it's probably just going to be a big hail maker. All right, that extends on up to Ponca City, etc. These guys down here, meanwhile, will still have some pretty decent shear to deal with. So those could be some potential tornado makers down here in southeast Oklahoma at 9 o'clock in the evening. All right, so let's go to 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock, you can see the big, long helicity track with this one. Again, that could just mean basically a big swath of hail. And then down here, you get some more severe storms in far southeast Oklahoma. Now, if you noticed, most of the state didn't see a whole lot of nasty weather. It's just a few, clustered areas. Here's 11 o'clock. Southeast Oklahoma still getting some pretty heavy thunderstorms. There's midnight. It's like the front's on the move, and you get more storms there. And then it kind of winds down. All right. So that's our new model that's supposed to take over all the other models in the future. Let's go to the HER and see how it does. And this is a completely different look. So the first model kind of went with what I really thought the forecast would lean toward and actually happened. This one is the let's just paint storms everywhere. All right, so there's 6 o'clock. So the next 30 minutes, we should be having heavy thunderstorms here with pockets of hail, Oklahoma City, Lake Arcadia, all the way down to the metro, to Norman, Moore, back out here into southern Oklahoma, even out in southwestern from Lawton up north, right? This is 6 o'clock. Look down here in southern Oklahoma. These are helicity tracks down here. So at least the model knows the ones down there are the ones to watch for. As we go into 7, this cluster kind of moves through Oklahoma City, moves north and east. Stuff down south is still the ones that's much stronger. So with all of these thunderstorms in here, like as a big cluster shape, that is not conducive for widespread tornadoes. It's too much competition from cells. It's a hybrid multicellular event. It will tap into some decent shear and instability, so you will get some hail out of it, pockets of damaging wind. But that's good for a lack of tornado genesis. 8 o'clock, this cluster still kind of hangs on here in central and northeast Oklahoma. Down south, you still get those nice helicity tracks, again, the most likely area for tornadoes in that case. And then as we go into the 9 o'clock hour, same idea. And there's some more bubbling up at 10 o'clock here in the metro. Again, some hail makers. Those will move through. So there you go. So that's 2 completely different looks of model data with our best short-term output, right? Just so I can just want to give you an idea that it's not like this thing has been an extremely easy, everything agrees, it's a guaranteed outcome. Because every model says something different. Let's go to the roof. Even it has something different. And I like all 3 models I just used. And it's hard to blend them all because they each use different physics and different reasoning. I can't tell you, though, this has not happened yet. According to the WRF, this should have already happened here in central Oklahoma. These little helicity tracks over the west side of the metro and on down south. So again, the models are overplaying their hand. In other words, they're getting way too excited based off of reality. We'll go to the next hour here. These did show a bunch of helicity tracks through, looks like 6 o'clock in this area, and then again down south. So the take home is we're still under the threat for severe weather. We're going to have many of these between now through, the middle of June. So don't lose your mind over the first one. The limiting factors we have with this cloud cover, and some rainfall, a lot of times the day-to-day, very minor instability compared to what it could have been if we had some temperatures in the 80s. Dew point values didn't quite get in the low 70s like model suggested. They're still in the mid 60s mostly. So all that just helps to bring things down just a notch. Still 2 favorite areas of storms, northern Oklahoma and again southern Oklahoma. Metro's kind of caught in between. Pick your poison as to which model you believe is one that will fill in the gap. Either we'll get nothing or there's something a little bit later. And then or we'll just get a widespread area of just scattered showers and some thunderstorms with pockets of hail everywhere. So at the minimum, you have a pretty good, decent shot of seeing some hail in many areas here in the central corridor of Oklahoma, straight up and down I-35. All right. On the outlier, a couple of tornadoes in that area. Favorite area down south, favorite area down up north. And then after that, just some good rain and pockets of wind in between. So standard stuff. So we've got this 5:30. Like I said, the models are anticipating something that's supposed to have already happened. It hasn't happened. So it's still working on happening. So either they're completely out to lunch or it's just a little delayed. Either way is good, obviously. But regardless, it's a situation where just stay weather aware. You can be just fine. And I mentioned earlier, if we do see a strong tornado out of this, which is like considered EF2, potentially EF3, most homes will be just fine with that. As long as it's well built, it's not on cinder blocks, that kind of stuff. And we don't do that here in Oklahoma. It's nice slab, anchored well. The structure will maintain its integrity. You could lose parts of the home, roof or a corner or something like that. But integrity typically remains in those cases. So you always want to be in the central part of your location, of your home, closet, bathroom, stairwell, however your home is designed. Bathtub if you want, the middle part, lowest floor, away from all outside walls and windows, shut extra doors if you can do that. And then just make sure you just ride out the storm. Tornadoes don't last long. They're there and gone in a flash, right? It's just seconds. But if you use my weather app, you'll have more lead time to take shelter. So get my weather app. It's called AT's Weather to Go. It's free. Apple, Google Play. It doesn't cost anything. It'll predict tornadoes and then warn you for your exact path before they occur. So it'll give you up to like 15, 20 minutes, depending on how the storm is structured and where your location is. So that's a lot of extra time to seek shelter. So utilize that for this event. And then that's it. Just kind of stay safe. You can track your other friends and family with that app. It's got radar on it. It's got velocity. You can track your own velocity couplets on there. Just play around with the buttons. Play around with the icons. On any app you see, just tap stuff. Don't be afraid. There's usually hidden Easter eggs on there, just like mine. And that way you'll see how it works. You're not going to break it. So if you're new to that stuff, your grandma get in there. Just start pressing buttons, grandma. It'll be all right. And you can see what's on that app and have your grandkids help you out if you're a little questionable. But that's about it for me. Like I said, I do expect a little bit of severe weather here this evening across Oklahoma, and it'll probably last pretty long. Like I said, the model day was up through about midnight, still getting some stuff moving through from time to time. I do expect to see a lot of hail reports in the local storm report when it's all said and done, and I do expect to see some pockets of wind in that as well. Like I said, it could get up to 80 miles an hour, and I do expect a couple of tornadoes. I do in favor of southern Oklahoma near the Ardmore area along the Red River, that kind of zone, 935, give or take east and west from there. And then kind of that southeastern, fifth of the state or fourth of the state, little corner, southeastern corner of Oklahoma, another good area for shear later on this evening after dark. And then northern Oklahoma kind of depends on the strength of that mesolow as it rides the frontal boundary. Usually that can back some surface winds. So kind of Tulsa north and west a little bit is another favorite area. So we'll see how that plays out. That's my thoughts on looking at where I'm trying to find the sweet spot in the data. Doesn't mean it can't happen outside those areas, but remember, I'm looking for the most favored area of tornadoes to develop. It's very hard to produce a tornado. They're not easy. You gotta have perfect ingredients. So that is it for me. Again, you guys be safe. I'll check in with you again a little bit later. Like I said, I'm kind of in a situation where I can only do these, kind of like what I'm doing now, unfortunately. But life happens sometimes, right? But I'll take care as best I can and be safe. And we'll talk soon. All right, be safe, everybody. Take care.